Prosecutors say the vehicle has been pulled over for a rear to the driver's seat and sped off, according to the police report. Police chased Warren around the city for around 30 minutes before she was finally arrested after crashing the SUV into a patrol car. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine announced today that local law enforcement agencies will receive new funding to help prevent and investigate crime. 24 local law enforcement agencies will receive $11.7 million to help with efforts to prevent and investigate violent crimes like domestic violence, gun violence, and human trafficking. With this grant, the South Central Major Ohio Crimes Unit in Fairfield County will receive just over $250,000 to purchase new technology, as well as hire a part-time intelligence analyst / evidence technician and enhance community engagement efforts.
67-year-old Mark Doyle is pronounced dead at the scene from a fatal car crash in Marietta yesterday morning. Police say that Doyle was driving on State Route 7 when he traveled left of center and hit an oncoming semi. 39-year-old Don Gray was driving the semi that was hit by Doyle. After being hit, Gray's vehicle lost its fuel tank and was leaking diesel fuel on the roadway before coming to a stop on the right side of the road. While Doyle was pronounced dead at the scene, EMS transported Gray to Marietta Memorial Hospital for minor injuries. State Route 7 has been cleared for travel, but is currently being treated for the released diesel fuel. Motorists and drivers are advised to travel with caution through the area. An Albany man is set to be arraigned on Monday for murder charges. 32-year-old Brian Hart was indicted by a grand jury for the death of 54-year-old Brian Stewart, his own father. The Athens County Prosecutor's Office says Hart is accused of purposefully causing his father's death on Sunday. Hart faces charges for murder, gross abuse of a corpse, and for having a weapon under disability. The arraigned court is set for Monday, November 7th.
A 15-year-old West Virginia boy has pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for shooting his mother and sister. Connor Crow was 13 years old when he shot his mother Melissa Rowland and sister Madison Crow in September of 2020. Investigators say they still don't know why he did it. Last Tuesday, Crow pled guilty and waived his right to be tried in juvenile court or by a jury. The prosecutor said Crow could face a maximum 40-year sentence for each offense, and because of his age, he could be eligible for parole in 15 years. The Ohio Supreme Court has thrown out the conviction of a man who attacked a woman 26 years ago. The defendant, Ralph Borty, was arrested in 2019 and was convicted of attempted aggravated murder in an attack in 1993. The victim was a 19-year-old woman who was abducted, raped, and left for dead. Prosecutors claimed that Ohio law allowed Borty to be charged, but his attorney argued the statute for limitations of attempted aggravated murder had expired. Today, the Supreme Court sided with Borty's argument and ordered his conviction overturned.
It was quite an eerie day today in Athens. We had a lot of fog this morning. Definitely wouldn't have recommended travel. I could barely see in front of me. But as the day went on, it cleared up quite a bit and went away. And as you can see here in Athens right now, it's 69 degrees. But we did bump up to the lower 70s today, and it was mostly clear. We had some sunshine peek in with some light cloud coverage. But as you can see here, across the board, we had a pleasant day. No rain in Athens and no rain across the board. So that is awesome. Pleasant fall day. And as we take a look at our local temperatures, we're looking at some high 60s to some mid 70s, which is crazy this late in the year. But as you can see here in Athens, we're looking at 72. And as we move up north into the Lancaster area, 70, Wilmington 72, and Columbus 68. And as we move down south into the Charleston, Huntington area, 75 and 73. So some nice calm weather, and that's going to continue into our evening, which I'll talk more about in my full weather forecast.
Thanks, Peyton. After a 2-year hiatus, the Athens Block Party returned to Court Street over the weekend, but with a more family-friendly feel. Newswatch reporter Brennan Nye has more.
If there's one thing Athens is known for, it's the Halloween Block Party. But this year, a much younger crowd was seen running up and down Court Street. Organizers of the Block Party included some family-friendly activities into the day.
We had a reading hour with the Hocus Pocus drag queens. We had face painting and lots of games and stuff, and then the trick or treat. So there were lots and lots of activities for kids and families, and it seemed like there was a great response. We had some pretty large numbers of people moving through early in the day. So it was really nice to see things happening all day, which I felt was good use of the space.
There were some initial concerns about bringing children to a college town, but the positive response after the fact has encouraged the city to put on more family-friendly events in the future.
I think we've had a good opportunity to kind of evolve things a little bit and to make it more community-oriented and still allow students and people that come in from out of town to have a good time and to do things, and be a little bit rambunctious later in the evening, but do it responsibly and safely.
With 2022 being a, quote, trial year for including family events, organizers say the event was a success.
We're not done. I think that's really important. People really didn't think this would work. They're like, oh, it's too early, no one's going to support it, families aren't going to want to come to this. They were all wrong, and so having it, build towards something bigger, I'm really excited just to see what that would be.
Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Brenna Nye in Athens.
Chicky says the city plans to adopt some of the events put on this year and make them long-term. Coming up, why U.S. officials are concerned Russia could use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. And with elections next week, politicians are pushing for people to get out and vote. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Crypto, what is it?
20% a working technology and 80% a utopian vision.
Is it a flash in the pan?
There's a lot of hucksters out there trying to sell their snake oil.
Or a new technology here to stay?
It's not going to vanish. What it's used for, it has yet to be fully determined.
Everything should be on the blockchain, whether it's a movie or the way we rent a car.
Crypto Decoded on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Southeast Ohio football is as exciting as ever, and Gridiron Glory covers all the action from your team. 8 conferences bring the biggest stories from the 7-4-0, whether it's on our show every Friday night or on social media as one of our many digital games. So follow along because Gridiron Glory is about more than just winning. It's community, it's pride, and it's tradition. So remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Control of Congress hanging in the balance. President Biden taking on the Trump wing.
Extreme MAGA Republicans full of anger, violence, hate, and division.
Republicans counting on support from the former president.
You're going to send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate.
Consequential state races. Election night 2022, Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Deep in Texas, there is a very elusive and endangered cat population.
The ocelot's range within Texas has been shrinking because of a number of human-related factors. The efforts for ocelot conservation, I feel, have been in vain. Time is not a friend of ours.
I hope you can see that. We got the ocelot kittens. Oh my God.
Every kitten is precious.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart have tentatively agreed to pay at least $12 billion to settle opioid lawsuits. According to Bloomberg, the lawsuits were brought by state and local governments. They allege the retailers mishandled prescriptions of opioid painkillers. More than 3,000 lawsuits have been filed against pharmacies, opioid manufacturers, and distributors, accusing them of downplaying the addiction risks of opioids and also failing to stop the pills from being used illegally. Data shows the opioid crisis has claimed more than 500,000 lives over the past 2 decades, 80,000 of them in 2021 alone. A Manhattan judge said today that he will appoint an independent monitor for former President Donald Trump's real estate empire. This decision will restrict his company's ability to freely make deals, sell assets, and change its corporate structure. Judge Arthur Engoron ordered the outside watchdog for the Trump Organization since he presides over a lawsuit in which New York Attorney General Letitia James alleges Trump and the company routinely misled banks and others about the value of prized assets, including his golf courses and hotels. James's office says the Trump Organization is continuing to engage in fraud and has taken steps to dodge potential penalties from the lawsuit. The Attorney General's office will select the independent monitor under the ruling. Trump's side can challenge the Attorney General's choice, but the final decision will rest with the judge.
With only 5 days left until the midterm election, big names from both parties are hitting the campaign trail. Former Presidents Barack Obama and Donald Trump have been campaigning as a final push to voters. Ivan Rodriguez reports on what could have a big impact on races across the country.
Days away from the midterm elections, voters across the country are hearing final pitches from big-name politicians.
If you've got election deniers serving as your governor, as your senator, as your secretary of state, as your attorney general, then democracy as we know it may not survive.
I'm here because Stacey Abrams can never be governor of the great state of Georgia. We've got to re-elect Brian Kemp.
Latest polling of likely voters shows the #1 issue for Republicans is the economy. For Democrats, the economy and abortion. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who will be campaigning in New York alongside Governor Kathy Hochul, says a midterm election is always an uphill battle for any party in power.
People are worried about the cost of living. They're worried about the economy, although the Republicans have absolutely no plan to do anything about that.
While in Pennsylvania campaigning for Mehmet Oz, former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, saying Democrats haven't been tough enough on crime and change is needed.
You shouldn't have to worry if you're going to get carjacked going to a restaurant. But that's what's happening in Pennsylvania. And you have a chance to make this better.
Haley was in Iowa this month, along with other potential GOP presidential contenders, including former President Donald Trump, who will kick off his stumping blitz of 4 rallies in 5 days. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Yesterday evening, President Joe Biden made an appeal to all Americans in a speech to get out and vote.
Today, I appeal to all Americans, regardless of party, to meet this moment of national and generational importance. We must vote, knowing what's at stake and not just the policy of the moment, but institutions that have held us together as we sought a more perfect union are also at stake. We must vote knowing who we have been, what we're at risk of becoming.
The message came during an address to the Democratic National Committee in Washington, D.C. yesterday evening. The president asked voters to make defending democracy a top issue in next week's midterm elections. In his message to the nation, Biden talked about what he believed was a politically motivated attack on Paul Pelosi. Biden says the assault on the House Speaker's elderly husband is a symptom of violent extremism that threatens the democracy.
Russian military officials have discussed how and under what conditions Russia would use a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine. That's according to new intel described by multiple sources. This information has U.S. officials divided, as Amy Kiley reports.
We're concerned about any discussion by a modern nuclear power of the potential use for nuclear weapons.
Some U.S. officials have heightened concern that Russia could use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. That's following an assessment from the National Intelligence Council. It suggests Russia's military leaders have been discussing what might prompt such a strike, according to multiple people who've read it. But the analysis is not raw intelligence or a high-confidence product.
We've seen no indication that the Russian military is making any kind of preparations for this kind of use.
Some officials believe the analysis takes conversations out of context. Others are more concerned.
It might not be just a demonstration strike in the ocean or something like this, but they might actually be used to achieve a battlefield impact.
In a statement, Russia said it only used nuclear weapons in response to an attack threatening the existence of its country. Russia illegally annexed parts of Ukraine this year. It could try to argue defending that area would fit its doctrine, says retired General Wesley Clark.
You'd wait for the Ukrainians to concentrate their forces, and then you'd fire a pulse of these weapons out across several miles.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The intelligence does not suggest Russian President Vladimir Putin has been part of the discussions covered in the analysis. Presumably, he'd make any final decision about using nuclear weapons. Pressure is rising for the U.S. to ban the social media app TikTok. That story's still ahead.
And it's been warming up the past couple of days, but will that continue into the weekend? Find out in my full weather forecast. And if you want more of Newswatch, you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
Control of Congress hanging in the balance. President Biden taking on the Trump wing.
Extreme MAGA Republicans full of anger, violence, hate, and division.
Republicans counting on support from the former president.
You're going to send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate.
Consequential state races. Election night 2022, Tuesday, November 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Southeast Ohio football is as exciting as ever, and Gridiron Glory covers all the action from your team. 8 conferences bring the biggest stories from the 740, whether it's on our show every Friday night or on social media as one of our many digital games. So follow along because Gridiron Glory is about more than just winning. It's community, it's pride, and it's tradition. So remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, Roadshow revisits some remarkable revelations from the Alamo City, San Antonio.
What you have here is 1905 World Series program, incredibly scarce.
I'm loving the cows. I am loving the cows. Take my breath away.
Find out which values peaked and which plummeted next time on Antiques Roadshow Vintage San Antonio, Hour 2.
Monday at 8 on WOUB.
Crypto, what is it?
20% a working technology and 80% a utopian vision.
Is it a flash in the pan?
There's a lot of hucksters out there trying to sell their snake oil.
Or a new technology here to stay?
It's not going to vanish. What it's used for has yet to be fully determined.
Everything should be on the blockchain, whether it's a movie or the way we rent a car.
Crypto Decoded on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
It feels like Halloween honestly made a reappearance this morning. I mean, that fog was creepy, but luckily it went away throughout the day. It definitely cleared up in Athens. Today it was a mostly sunny day. We had some light cloud coverage, but a lot of sunshine came through. And we had a temperature high of 71 degrees. So we're in the 70s in November, which is crazy and abnormal. And we had that temperature low of 47, which is higher than the average low, but it still was way chillier this morning. But a mostly sunny, calm, pleasant day. So you can see here in Athens, we had no precipitation hitting us and in any of our surrounding areas. And on a wider scale, we had that same thing. We do have some light rain in the south to us and to the west of us, but again, nothing hitting Athens. And that's going to continue into our evening tonight. We're going to have a mostly clear night with an overnight low of 47. It's going to be a chillier evening, but it's going to be mostly clear. Some of that fog we saw this morning, it is going to return tonight, but it is expected to lift and dissipate very soon, so it's going to be of a lower intensity. And tomorrow it's going to be clear again. We're going to have a temperature high of 74 degrees and a low of 56, and it's going to be partly sunny. We're going to have a little bit of some more cloud coverage, but that sunshine is still going to make its way through. And tomorrow night, we do have this low pressure system moving in from the west with some light to heavy rain moving in with it. And the same thing goes for Saturday. That's still moving in with a cold front following it. So we are going to expect a series of light to heavy rain. As you can see here on Saturday, we are going to see a chance of showers, but that is going to come into the evening time. So we're going to see a high of 78 throughout the day and a low of 55. So that's crazy for this November weather. It's definitely way warmer than we would be expecting this time of year. And on Sunday, that rain is going to go away. From Saturday, we could see some winds, but for the most part, it's going to be a clear day. It's going to be partly sunny with a high of 73 and a low of 51. So it's going to be another warm fall day, and that trend's going to continue into Monday. We're going to see a high of 73 and a low of 46, and that same thing on Tuesday. It's going to bump down a little bit to 70, but still a warmer day with a low of 45. Wednesday, it's going to get a little cloudier. It's going to bump down a bit to 67, but still warmer for fall with a low of 45. And on Thursday, it's going to be cloudy with a high of 68 and a low of 48. So get out there and enjoy that summer-like weather.
Thank you, Peyton. Pressure is mounting for the U.S. to ban the social media app TikTok over concerns the Chinese government could access private data from the users in the United States. Mike Valerio has more.
For Lucy Pro, TikTok is more than a social media app. She calls it her side hustle, a source of income.
As a user, a TikTok user myself,
I would just think that, it would be a little bummed out just for the fact because it would be taking away one of my tools that I use to promote my online business that I use on a daily basis.
Yet a growing number of U.S. lawmakers worry about the company's handling of sensitive user data. After months of negotiations to resolve concerns that Chinese government authorities could seek to gain access to the data TikTok holds on U.S. citizens, one of the 5 commissioners of the FCC, Brendan Carr, says the U.S. government should ban the video sharing app rather than come to an agreement. This cybersecurity expert says private data for TikTok users is as compromised as it is with other social media platforms.
We don't see any particular evidence that TikTok is necessarily any more harmful or dangerous, let's say, from our data perspective than any other social media.
Commissioner Carr admits the capacity of the FCC is limited to ban TikTok. It's the Commerce Department or the Federal Trade Commission that have the handle on regulations. With the millions of users in the middle of this, the advice is a proactive approach when it comes to protecting private information.
We have to exercise caution because ultimately their service can be hacked. It doesn't matter whether they're based in the United States or in China or in Germany, right?
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
In response to the commissioner's call to ban the app, TikTok said in a statement, "We are confident that we are on a path to reaching an agreement with the U.S. government that will satisfy all reasonable national security concerns."
Coming up in sports, the Ohio men's basketball team looks to get off to a hot start with their new and young team. These stories and more when Newswatch returns. Southeast Ohio football is as exciting as ever, and Gridiron Glory covers all the action from your team. 8 conferences bring the biggest stories from the 740, whether it's on our show every Friday night or on social media as one of our many digital games. So follow along because Gridiron Glory is about more than just winning. It's community, it's pride, and it's tradition. So remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
I was defined by my body and being a dancer. Becoming disabled required like this whole new understanding of life. I feared that I would never feel like myself again. And that's changing for me now.
Move Me, Monday, November 7th at 10/9 Central on Independent Lens.
Next time on The War, the Battle of the Bulge.
And as I said, when they fired the first round, it darn near hit me.
Iwo Jima.
I always looked around and wondered now, how many men am I gonna lose?
And fire rains on Japan.
They burn out a third of the whole area, and we knew that Americans were getting closer.
Part 6 of The War.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
Crypto, what is it?
20% a working technology and 80% a utopian vision.
Is it a flash in the pan?
There's a lot of hucksters out there trying to sell their snake oil.
Or a new technology here to stay?
It's not going to vanish. What it's used for, it has yet to be fully determined.
Everything should be on the blockchain, whether it's a movie or the way we rent a car.
Crypto Decoded on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
The Bobcats basketball team starts its season with an exhibition game against Capital tonight. The Comets were 14-11 last season, and Ohio went 25-10. The younger players on the Bobcats look to use what they've learned from players like Ben Vanderplas and Mark Sears. Ohio has only 2 seniors and 2 juniors this year and a total of 6 freshmen. This is a test to see what the Ohio basketball program has in store for the future. Tip-off is set for 7. Ohio field hockey wrapped up its season, but not before 2 players earned some awards. Ohio's Magente Littenberg took home the Co-Freshman of the Year award. She had 7 goals and 8 assists in her freshman season. Another player getting recognition for the Bobcats is Caitlin Whittle. She got put on the All-MAC second team with 7 goals and 2 assists. Caitlin has 26 goals in her Bobcat career. The Bobcats look forward to see what Magente has in store for her next year. Ohio hockey is off to a great start this season with a record of 8-2. The Bobcats take on West Virginia tomorrow. West Virginia has 3 more games under its belt with a 7-6 record. This could be a challenge for the Bobcats going up against a team with more ice time, but Ohio could use the fresher bodies to its advantage. Either way, this should be a great matchup for the Ohio hockey team. The puck drops tomorrow at 7 p.m. Ohio women's volleyball is on the road in a big series against the Toledo Rockets. The Rockets are 15-9 and 8-5 in the MAC. The Bobcats are 16-8 overall with a 6-game win streak. Ohio is also 10-3 in the MAC, coming in strong against Toledo's 8-5 MAC record. Olivia Margolis and Caitlin O'Farrell look to step up for the Bobcats like they have been all season. They have 555 kills combined. The game starts tomorrow night at 6. Now time for some football. Ohio football is bowl eligible after winning 45-24 against Buffalo Tuesday. The Bobcats say they now realize they are the team that everyone is looking to beat. Their next road game is against Oxford against the rival Miami. But the Redhawks are 4-5, but don't let that fool you because they beat a P5 school, Northwestern, 17-14. A huge win against a Big Ten team. Coach Tim Albin says his team has a new perspective after becoming bowl eligible.
Sit over across the river with a big bullseye on their chest all day today, and we earned it. Now it's on our chest. And so what are we going to do with it? We're going to prepare and go 1-0.
Kickoff is set for 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday for this huge rivalry matchup. And I'm Sullivan, and that's it for sports. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Sullivan. Now let's go back to Peyton for a look at your final weather.
Yeah, guys, tonight it's going to be an overnight low of 47, so it's going to cool down quite a bit. It's going to feel like this past morning. It's going to be mostly clear too, but it's going to be, we're going to have some creepy fog come back, so I wouldn't recommend any travel this evening. And moving into tomorrow, we're going to have a temperature high of 74 and a low of 56. It's going to be partly sunny again, a lot of sunshine, some clouds, but it's going to be warmer, and we're going to see that for the next couple of days throughout the weekend and into next week. So get out there and enjoy this summer in November.
Finally, tonight, November 8th is set to be a special day. Not only is it election day, but a total lunar eclipse will be in the sky nationwide. A lunar eclipse is when the path of our nearest neighbor in space enters the Earth's shadow during a full moon phase. That causes the light from the Earth's sunrise and sunsets to be cast on the moon, causing it to temporarily appear red. If you missed Tuesday's sky show, you'll have to wait until 2025 for the next one. You can get more information about the total lunar eclipse on NASA's website at nasa.gov. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Emma Dollamere.
And I'm Morgan Anderson. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Visit Athens County. More information can be found at AthensOhio.com. Athens, it's more than a place.